Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming today. My name is Roxanne Fenton, and I am the Associate Director in Career and Professional Development. And we are here today to talk about how to make the most of your internship. And we're going to be talking about things you can do while you're on an internship. So it's great that all of you are thinking ahead to this. One thing we're not going to cover today is how to find an internship, but we can help you with that process in career and professional development through a career advising appointment and through other recorded webinars that we have on our YouTube channel. So let's see what we're going to cover today. Going to go over some important topics, some bigger and longer than others. Everything from the very important topic of confidentiality through building relationships at your internship site and what to do after. So let's first talk about confidentiality. Confidentiality is very important to your supervisor and to the company that you are working for. I've gotten feedback from internship supervisors in the past that interns don't take confidentiality seriously or not enough, or don't think it applies to them because they're interns. So most companies are going to want you to share some, to have some level of confidentiality with the company information, with the work that you are doing. So how do you make sure that you are doing what you're supposed to and doing what you probably agreed to when you signed your internship contract? Well, first of all, you want to read the company policies carefully. You want to know exactly what you are required to do and not do. And it's really important to ask questions to be sure that you understand those requirements. You may be prohibited from sharing your work. You may be prohibited from talking about the project that you're working on. There may be other company information not related to your project that you have access to, and that may be confidential, that you can't talk about it. So if you ever have questions about whether you can share something, don't share it. Ask about it, but err on the side of not talking about things you think might be confidential. This may mean that you're not able to talk fully about your job with your family, your friends, classmates, faculty. You may not be able to share every aspect of the internship, but it is really important. A part of this is going to be being careful with files and data. The company will most likely give you guidelines about things you can download, what you can work on outside of the office, access to certain files, that kind of thing. And then be sure to ask your supervisor what work you can share, whether that's on social media or in your portfolio, or even talk about on your resume. You may not be able to show the work, or you may be able to show the work after a particular time when something is released or the product goes to market. Once the work that you did is no longer on a project that is secret to the company. So you may be able to talk about, in fact, we know you can talk about the skills that you used, whether that's on a resume or in an interview, without discussing the details of the project brief, or who the client was, if in fact there was a client. So I wanted to start with confidentiality because it's not something that comes up in school, but it is something that is very important to companies and to employers and supervisors. So let's think about the beginning of an internship now. And when you get an internship, once you are settling into the idea that you're going to be doing it, it's really good to set some goals for yourself about what you want to get out of the internship. Do you want to learn about the company? Do you want to learn about corporate culture? Or do you want to learn about working in a small design firm? Do you want to improve your sketching skills? Or do you want to improve your Photoshop skills? So they can be things about the company, things about yourself, skills and software. But set goals for yourself or what you want to get out of the internship. Be sure to ask your supervisor what their goals are for you during the internship. This will help you know what your supervisor is thinking about. And you can see where their goals align with yours. You can see where you differ in the goals that you have, which is not necessarily a problem. Those goals may not be in conflict with each other. But if there's something else you want to learn or try or explore that your supervisor doesn't include, ask if it's a possibility. You know, they may not be thinking about the internship in the same way you are, and they may be able to accommodate those goals that you have set for yourself. So setting goals is really key to making sure that you are getting the most out of your internship. Another key and a fairly big topic is communication. When I have seen things go wrong at an internship or between an intern and a supervisor, it usually comes down to communication. If the intern had communicated earlier or more often, the supervisor could usually have accommodated them, whether it's a life challenge that you encountered or something with the work, or, you know, just a transportation problem that you're having. So really communicate early and often with your supervisor. Sometimes the supervisor is the one who's not communicating well. And if that happens to you, our office, CPD, can help you figure out how to communicate about that. So when should you communicate with your supervisor? If you're going to be late to work. Most American workplaces value punctuality, and that means showing up on, if the day starts at 9, being there at 9, not at 9:15. So that may be something that you encounter, and that may be different than the way time is dealt with in the culture that you come from, whether that's inside or outside of the US. So it's important to figure out what your particular supervisor values in that way, and make sure that if you're not able to stick to that, that you let them know. So that's one time to be sure you're communicating. If something happens that affects your work, whether that's personal, with your family, with events going on in the world, whatever it is, if you know that it's going to affect your ability to complete work or to continue to make progress on your work, it's really important that you let your supervisor know that. And that you stay in communication with your supervisor throughout whatever it is that you're going through. Not to say that you have to tell your supervisor all the details, but it is important to let them know that something is going on. So that's a big one. Another reason you want to communicate with your supervisor is if you don't understand a task that you've been given, or if you're being asked to do something and it doesn't quite make sense to you, ask questions early. Supervisors, employers really want you to start off on the right foot and not waste a bunch of time spinning, trying to figure out what to do. So if you don't understand, ask. If you're overwhelmed, maybe you are at a really fast-paced place or organization, and they're really giving you a lot of work to do, which is great, but you're feeling overwhelmed. Ask your supervisor to help you prioritize the work. They will know what their priorities are, what's most important to get done first, what can wait, if anything can be taken off of your to-do list. Your supervisor can help you with that. If for any reason you can't meet a deadline, communicate with your supervisor how it's going. See if they want to do regular status check-ins to kind of keep you on track. Ask if you are having trouble meeting your deadlines. And finally, I want to empower you to think about the fact that if you need something from your supervisor and you aren't getting it, communicate that with the supervisor. That could be that you're not getting enough feedback. That could be that you're not understanding their instructions. Whatever that is, if you need something from your supervisor, it's okay to ask for it. I helped a student who didn't feel she was getting the level of mentorship and guidance from her supervisor that she needed. And we talked through how she could ask the supervisor for that. And she felt like the second half of her internship went much better. Now, you'll notice that a lot of these things that I talked about deal with time or deadlines or completing work. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about expectations about deadlines. Now, you all have deadlines for school, so this may not come as a surprise to you, but I think it's worth talking about. Meeting deadlines on time is another area where Americans, broadly speaking, consider to be important, because meeting deadlines not only is the work that needs to get done, but it shows an understanding of the business or financial impact of your individual work and shows that you understand how your work affects larger teams and production pipelines. It also helps you know when to ask for help or ask for more time. And one way that I've had students notice that work on an internship in an actual company is different than a deadline at school is that you may need to accept that the work being absolutely perfect may be less important than delivering something that is still good quality, but on a deadline. Most American supervisors don't want to have to watch you through every step of a process. They expect that you will be able to follow up on and follow through on projects of your own. So they're expecting some self-direction. Now, as an intern, they're expecting to help you and give you guidance. And as I've said before, they are there for you to ask questions and get help you need. But they are going to be looking for a certain level of self-direction. All right, let's talk more about communication. Things that you will hopefully get from your supervisor are regular check-ins. Maybe it's a weekly meeting. Maybe if it's remote work, you check in every morning of the days that you're working. Regular check-ins are especially important for remote work. When work is remote, the employer can't see you working. And if you are consistently hard to reach, supervisors tend to think it's because you're not working. whether that's true or not, that's where their mind is likely to go. So you want to have those regular check-ins, stick to them. And if your employer isn't giving you enough regular check-ins for you to, to feel like you know what you're doing, that you're not floundering or, kind of treading water on your own, ask to see if you can check in with them more often. And maybe if not with them, maybe there's someone else on the team who you can check in with. Another is to figure out your supervisor's style. How do they communicate best? Do they like to talk in person? Do they want everything in an email? Are they using a text communication app like Slack or Discord, or even WhatsApp? See the way that they like to communicate, the mode that they like to communicate, and then also what they want to hear about when you're communicating with them. And this is something that you can ask your coworkers about. You can ask, what's the best way to communicate with your supervisor? So that, if they like to hear you right up front, start with, this is what I've done, this is what I still have to do, that, and you can provide that. It's okay to ask for help, especially as an intern. Supervisors know that you are new to this, that you maybe are new to the workplace. They know that it's their job to provide an educational experience for you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And take initiative. This is something that we hear a lot from internship supervisors, that they want students to get better at. And what does it mean to take initiative? That can mean a couple of things. If you're done with a task and haven't heard from your supervisor or someone else on the team, let them know that you're done and ask for something else to do. That's one way to take initiative to stay productive. Supervisors also want to hear your ideas. One of the things that they report that they get out of having an intern is a fresh perspective. Someone who doesn't know the company, who doesn't know the projects, who thinks in a different way. So they want to hear your ideas. So be willing to share those. And I know that can be scary. You can talk to your supervisor about the best way to go about doing that. Whether that's sharing in meetings or talking to your supervisor directly. But be brave and take initiative. A couple of other communication guidelines are: pick a good time to communicate with your supervisor, especially if you're going to communicate face-to-face or send them a text of some kind, a written message where they might feel like they need to respond immediately. Pick a good time when your supervisor isn't right in the middle of something else. Or if they're really busy in the mornings, maybe wait till the afternoon when they'll have more time to give to you. And then always go in with a clear idea of what you want to discuss. And it can be helpful to write that down in advance or make an outline for yourself, just so you don't get off topic, or you don't get flustered if this is new to you, speaking with a supervisor. And I want to, as I leave talking about communication, I want to emphasize that if you find you need help with how to communicate with your supervisor, with other team members, with anything at the workplace, you can reach out to us. You can make an advising appointment through Art Center Connect, and Eilish, our career advisor, has popped that link in the chat. And you can also email us at careers@artcenter.edu, and our team will figure out the best way, the best route to help you with the questions that you have. So just to know that we are here to help you not just get an internship, but get the most out of your internship. Okay, I wanted to share just some basic tips that you may have already thought of, but I think are really important to managing yourself in an American workplace particularly. One of those is to take notes. You're going to get a lot of information that's going to be hard to remember. So in whatever way works best for you, using whatever method, whether that's pen and paper, whether that's an app on your phone or an app on your computer, take notes during training, take notes during meetings. When you're receiving feedback, take notes, etc. Just in general, this also shows your supervisor that you are paying attention and trying to learn the information that they're giving you. This goes with confidentiality, but I'm going to emphasize it again. Make sure you're following company procedures. They may have procedures about how to store files, how to merge the work that you're doing into the work that someone else is doing. Hold on. Merge the work with what someone else is doing. Just generally learning how this particular company works. And then this one is worth mentioning. Stay present and focused. What does that mean? Well, avoid being on your phone and on social media during work. It may be a good idea to put your phone on Do Not Disturb and only check it during your breaks. You may not feel that the phone is interfering with your ability to work effectively, but your supervisor may see it differently. So this is really important. And even if you see coworkers on their phones during work, it's a really good practice to keep your phone only during breaks. If you need to be available because of a child or a relative or some other responsibility that you have, let your supervisor know so that they understand why you have your phone out and why you might check it for messages periodically. I'm just going to check the chat. Great. Okay. Any questions about communication before I go on to my next large topic? You can pop them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask, though you will be on the recording if you do that. I just want to let you know. But I just want to take a minute here to digest information and give you a chance to ask some questions. Okay. I don't see anything flooding the chat right now, so I will keep going, but you can pop questions in the chat as they occur to you. Oh, I think I got one. Nope. We're just continuing the conversation about advising appointments. All right, so let's talk about another big key for doing work, working effectively at your internship and getting the most out of it. And that's building relationships. And I did get the question that just came into the chat. I'm going to think about that and answer it in a few minutes. So your internship is a fantastic opportunity to build your creative network. Even if you find that you don't want to work full-time for the company where you interned, your supervisor and your coworkers can be excellent resources for you in your future career. How do you build relationships with people? My number one tip for that is to open up your natural curiosity. Be curious about the people that you work with. People love to be asked about themselves and what they do. And if they don't really want to talk about it, they'll avoid the conversation or they'll redirect. But people love to be asked about themselves. So be curious. Be curious about the workplace. Be curious about the people that you're working with. Be curious about their background. Now, a key part of building relationships is teamwork. Many of you, most of you who do an internship will find yourselves working with a team of some size, whether that's a small team, maybe there's only one team in a small firm or in a consultancy. Maybe that's one team among many teams that work together in a larger organization. So how do we work effectively with teams? This may or may not be something that you get much of in your program at Art Center, and this is always something that students point out after internships as something that they've really learned a lot about. So, first of all, expect diversity of viewpoints, diversity of backgrounds, different communication styles, different investments that people have, and know that you're going to get to interact with people who interact with you in different ways. So respect those differences and learn to work with them. Contribute fully. Part of being part of a successful team is being dependable, that you will do what you say what you're assigned, or that you'll ask for help or guidance if you're having trouble with it. You know, contribute your fair share. And usually interns don't have a problem with this because they're so excited to be doing real work, and a lot of interns get to do real work that affects clients or outcomes in some way. So contribute fully. And then participate actively in meetings. So this is something that you'll have a chance to do most likely, whether those are one-on-one meetings with your supervisor, team meetings, larger company meetings. They're a way for people to share ideas and to work out problems. And they're an important opportunity for you to contribute your ideas to a team or a project. Again, this is a place to take initiative. You can ask questions, but you want to participate, you want to stay on topic and take part in back and forth communication, allowing others to talk and responding to what they say. And you're going to encounter again and learn to work with people with different communication styles. You can prepare for meetings, especially if an agenda is given ahead of time or you know what the meeting is going to be about. You can think about things you might want to share or questions you might want to ask. Some meetings you will mostly just observe. Probably the bigger meetings you might observe, or you might observe mostly the first time or two that you're in the meeting until you get a sense of how meetings go in this organization. So that's a little bit about being successful with team workers. A question in the chat: any tips for connecting with coworkers when working remotely? It's difficult to find opportunities for non-work related conversations. Yes, I do have a couple of those coming right up. So you want to get to know your teammates, and your coworkers, whether that's other interns, your supervisor, other designers on your team. And If you're in the office, casual conversation and office small talk is a great way to break the ice. That's what's hard. That's what got pointed out, that's what's hard when you're working remotely or particularly hybrid. So you'll need to be more intentional about it. Ask your supervisor to introduce you to people in the company. Schedule calls with people at appropriate times. Ask them if they have time for a 15-minute call, or maybe even a 30-minute call, depending on how busy your sense of the company is. Just to talk about, say that you want to talk about their career and their work. If your company uses Slack or Discord, there may be channels that are a little more fun, like a random channel where people share memes, or where people, talk casually about what's going on in the day or in the world. Participate in those. If your company doesn't have one of those channels, and you can email people and ask them, do you have time to meet, or can I ask you some questions over email? You do have to be pretty intentional about it if you're remote. If you are not remote, you can ask people to go for coffee, at a break. That's usually, like a 15-minute chance to chat. If you can afford it, you can offer to buy offer to buy them coffee or a similar beverage. But invite them to go for coffee, invite them to have those conversations. If your team eats lunch together or eats lunch with other people, go join them at lunch, listen to the conversations, ask some of your own questions. That can be another way to get to know the team. And you can invite people to lunch if you'd like to have a more focused conversation with them. And depending on your work situation, you can even ask your supervisor or other coworkers if they have time to look at your portfolio and give you any feedback. What questions do you want to ask? You can ask what they like most about their job. You can ask how they got to where they are now in their career. What do they wish they'd known when they were starting out? What changes and trends are they seeing in the industry currently? Things like that. You can also just ask them about, their shoes. If they always have really fabulous shoes, you can talk about their shoes and ask, where they get them and, what they like about them. Shoes, glasses, interesting items of clothing, any of that can get the conversation started. Talk about the project, ask how the last project went. Those are all good things to communicate about and get to know your team. Okay, you're going to want to maintain this network, these relationships that you've built. So how, during your internship and after it, do you stay in contact? Connect with coworkers on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great platform for keeping up with people. Collect work email addresses so that you can reach out to former coworkers directly. Just ask, hey, can I have your work email address? Or if it's in a company directory, you can, save that. Send thank you notes. This is something you can do towards the end of your internship. Or it's something, if somebody really helped you on a big project, send them an email of formally saying thank you for helping you for that. If you're in person, you can leave cards. Doesn't have to be anything fancy, but a nice written thank you note is something people love to get. And if you are gracious and show gratitude for the help and the learning and the teaching that you're getting, people tend to remember you, and they remember you positively. Schedule a closing conversation with your supervisor. If this isn't something that your supervisor has already told you you're going to have, ask for it. Ask them for their assessment of what you learned and their suggestions for things that you can continue to work on as you come back to school or move on to looking for full-time work. And then stay in occasional contact with people. Send them an email and ask how things are going at the company. Give them updates on how you're doing. Reach out, comment on their LinkedIn posts, send them a LinkedIn message. When you're getting ready to graduate, you can invite them to grad show. That happens a lot, that interns invite people that they worked with to come view their work at grad show. So you want to stay in contact with people and keep that network going. All right, I have one last category, and that's what do you do after your internship to make sure that all that you've learned, all that you've experienced doesn't fade in your memory with time. So the first thing that we recommend is to reflect. You can do this in writing, you can make sketches, you can think about it, but I recommend recording your thoughts somewhere. What did you learn? What was successful? What would you do differently? If you were going into a new workplace, is there anything that you learned that you'd be like, oh, I want to do that differently next time? What should you learn now? Maybe you discovered that you need to learn a broader range of software. Or maybe you discovered that you need to work on form in your sketches. Or a technical skill, or maybe you need to get better at talking about your work, presenting your work to teammates, pitching your work. Those are all things that you can approach as you get back from your internship, and not just reflect on, but learn about. Find faculty at Art Center, find workshops, come to our office, depending on what you learned, so that you can build those skills. And the other thing you want to do after your internship is record what happened. Make a list of all the things you can think of that you did, all of the skills that you feel you learned, all the tasks that you accomplished. Just make a big old list. Think about these 3 questions. What did you do? How did you do it? And what was the outcome? That's what we recommend a good item on your resume is going to answer. So write those things down. Compile a master resume where you don't worry so much about formatting and you don't worry about length. You just record all of the experiences and the examples that you can think of so that you can draw on them to update a targeted resume. So these are things to do after your internship, in addition to staying connected with the relationships that you have built. Okay, I want to make a little plug for some other workshops that we have coming up. Yes, this recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and we'll put it on our website. We are next Tuesday presenting interview basics and how to present your work in an interview. On Monday, February 5th, we are having a panel of hiring managers and recruiters from different fields who are going to talk about what they look for in interviews. That's on Monday, February 5th. And then on Tuesday, February 13th, if you were interested in the things that I talked about how to function in the workplace, I'm going to do a deeper dive into that, talking about some of the basics that you can expect to find in most American workplaces. And you can register on Art Center Connect to join those workshops and learn with us. There's also a workshop this Thursday for graduating students, if any of you are graduating, from 12 to 1. And in person on Thursday, February 8th, you can come practice your interview skills, your interview answers with us in room 314 in the 1111 building. So with that, I am going to put up our contact information, ways to reach us. And I'm going to go back to the question that I skipped from the chat, and I'm going to let you ask other questions. And for that, I'm going to stop the recording.